tilt that up just a little bit. There we go. Give it a minute before everybody gets on here, or a few gets on here. We'll start. Huh? Yeah, it's 3 hours or something, so I had it running too long last Sunday. All right, welcome today. We appreciate you being with us as always, and those that will come later on and watch, and also on YouTube. So we're enjoying our journey through the Acts of the Ekklesia. And last week we left off with Peter having a vision, and so we're going to explain that this morning. He's at Cornelius's, before he goes to Cornelius's house. A vision, you know, a lot of people say they've had visions. A vision is just something you're seeing in your awareness. It's basically what it is. And so, but it's important that we have these. It's important as we listen. You know, basically we're listening and we're turning what we're hearing into that, and we're making it visual. So that's what took place. Hey, George, glad you're here. So Acts 10, 11 through 13, and for your notes, I've got the King James Version there, but I'm not going to read it for the teaching. But it says, and Peter saw the heavens open, and something like a great sheet descending held at the four corners. And it came down to earth, and in it were all kinds of earthly creatures. And a voice came to him saying, Rise, Peter, kill and eat. So this was kind of shocking to him, because a lot of animals back there in their system, they were told that they're not to eat that. And they were told that God told them not to eat that. And so it was a little difficult for them. And there's a lot of things that's difficult for people today. And I want to share something before I really get into this. I was talking to a couple of my friends, I think, where they're on the East Coast. Both of them, their name is David. And they were asking me to explain to them in the best I could about if there's not a physical God out there, a visible God out there, then how do we explain it? You know, and we hear you say breath, we hear you say, but they just want them to hear it again. So I went over it with them for quite a while, and I think I helped them a lot. But at the end of our conversation, I heard this very strong. You need to know what is not before you can know what it is. What is. You need to know what is not before you can know what is. Because if you believe in what is not, right? So if you believe in a physical God out there, or you believe in a devil, or you believe in a greater power, or you believe in separation, or all the stuff that we believed in, you believe that Jesus is God, you believe that the goal is to die and go to heaven someday. If you believe that, then you're really not going to be able to believe what is. And that's why people resist today, because they believe a lie to be the truth. So again, and I wrote a song about that, but you need to know what is not first. And that's what Jeremiah and my calling was, that Father told me, or breath spoke me, Spirit spoke to me, that I was going to be made like a Jeremiah. Jeremiah's first mission was to dig up, pluck up, and destroy before he could plant. And that's what we've been doing for a long, long time. We've been revealing what's not true. And when you find out what's not true, then you can discover what's really true. Does that make sense?
Yes, that's good.
All right. So this opening of the heavens here signifies the removal of inherited boundaries between ourselves and full divine awareness. And that's what we want. We want, again, when we feel separate, when we feel less than, we feel like we're not meant to know things, and we believe that, then it hinders that opening of our divine awareness. So the word heaven in this instance means heart awareness. Our heart awareness needs to be opened. And so faith, which represents Peter, is now positioned to receive truth unfiltered by the tradition's inherited doctrine. That's what we all need to get to. I'm looking for people, I'm searching for people that are at that place where they're ready for their heaven to be opened, their heart awareness. they come to this realization that everything that they've ever believed has really not done anything for them. It's put everything off into the future. And it's nice. It's always been nice to believe that when I die, my future is going to be wonderful. But what about all these 60, 70, 80, 90 years we're living right here on planet Earth? Why is it that we have to go through all the suffering that people have gone through waiting for the sweet by and by? And so what happens here, this great sheet represents a vast revelation, an expansive and an inclusive and containing multiple layers of meanings in it. Its descent shows that revelation does not arise from intellect. It doesn't come from carnal reasoning. It's given from within, and it brings us to a higher realm of consciousness, the realm where Spirit communicates these eternal truths. And so it's held at four corners, and that symbolizes universality. It represents the entire self in all its directions, all its dimensions, all of its expressions. Everything about me is holy. Everything about you is holy. Yes, we sometimes have thoughts that are not proper, but that's not who I am. And that's what the Apostle Paul understood when he said, when I died, he was talking about his ego, me, myself, and I. That feeling that I was all by myself. When I died, from that point on, I lived in contact with my divine mind. Yeah. And I do that, but still there are thoughts, there are things that try to creep back in, but I know how to cast those down. I say those are not truth, those are not real. You know, you take a child and they're crying at night and you go in and they tell you there's a monster under my bed. Well, what do? You comfort them first. You turn the light on. You get down with them and say, look, baby, there's nothing there. That's just your imagination. It's not a real thing. So our imagination is supposed to imagine the things of Elohim, the things of the spiritual realm, but it's been filled with all kinds of other stuff. And we're seeing here, this is what happened to Peter. He had an imagination that was filled with religiosity. So it's held with these four corners. So the number 4 represents the fullness of the earthly realm. The meaning the revelation touches every part, the inward, the outward, the existence. The sheet comes down to the earth, showing that it's revealed. It must be integrated with practical awareness. It needs to come inside of us. It needs to affect our outward awareness, our conscious awareness. It needs to affect our subconsciousness, every part of our being. So spiritual truth is not given for a theory, but it's given for a transformation. It's not good just to learn some truth. It needs to transform you. It needs to change you. So this moment marks this threshold. Faith, Peter, is about to be stretched beyond its previous understanding, preparing Peter to see that no awareness, no person, no understanding, no carnal thought, no state of consciousness is outside the embrace of Elohim. In other words, no matter where you're at, nothing separates you from the love. Nothing separates you from the embrace that you're one and you're holy and you've always been one. So these creatures represent every level of carnal-minded awareness then. Belief societies that are labeled as clean or unclean, states of consciousness that judge acceptable and unacceptable, pattern conditions that religion or tradition parts, all of that. And so this reflects how religious systems create categories. And as I said before, Peter's time, certain animals were deemed unclean. And then that literally even passed on to mankind. Certain people were unclean, not to be with them, not to touch them, like the Greeks, trying to think another word, the Gentiles. They were considered unclean. All a Gentile is somebody that's not of the Jewish faith or Hebrew race. That's all it is. And then we can relate that to other races, where people look at African American people, and there were generations for a long time that treated them like they were unclean. But then there are white people today that can go to places that they're treated unclean. So that's something that's deeply rooted into people. So the voice here saying, arise and eat, is the voice of spirit, this eternal declaration within the divine mind, calling faith into a higher understanding. Rise means to elevate your awareness. And that's what we're doing with these teachings. That's what we're doing ourselves. Hi, Kay. Glad you're here with us. But this higher elevation of awareness begins to take place, and it elevates us, and it steps out of this inherited categories, and it transcends religious conditioning. And so from divine perspective, kill and eat is a symbolic language. It does not imply destruction. It means to take in these revelations, to integrate them into yourself and let it nourish you. Let it allow your old discrimination to die. So when literally what we needed to die to was not our old self, like we used to say. We thought we had an old man. We never had an old man, but we need to die to our old awareness. And how you do that is you feed on the truth, and the truth deals with that. Just like I said earlier, you've got to know what is not before you can know what is. And so when you know what is not, you let what is destroy it. You believe the other side. So the voice of breath is telling Peter, let go of this distinctions that you were taught and receive the revelation of the universal inclusion. You know, I've been told in the past I'm a universalist. Well, and since I am, the love of God, love of Elohim, our Elohim, is universal. It's for everyone. So all are one with Elohim. Nothing is outside of the divine grace. So this is the moment faith is invited into expand spiritual perception that will change not only Peter's life, but literally it will change the entire Ekklesia at this time. All the people that were following him and following the other disciples' teachings. So in verse 14 it says, but Peter said, not so, Elohim Breath, for I have never eaten anything common or unclean. And the voice spoke to him again a second time, what Elohim has cleansed, do not call common. This happens 3 times, the sheet's taken up again into the heavenly realm. In other words, that awareness just left him at that time. So even awakened faith, Peter, carries the residue of inherited beliefs himself. Peter is sincere, but sincerely shaped by a system that divided the world into 2 different categories, clean or unclean. Almost every religious system there is in the earth has that. They're either saved or you're not saved. You're either blessed or you're not saved. They are not blessed. So his refusion is not rebellion, it's conditioning. The people that we try to share things to, they're really not rebelling against us, but it's just a conditioning. And I wrote a post about that. It's very sad that people don't want to hear the truth because they're conditioned and they're happy with what they've been conditioned with. That conditioning causes you to be happy with a lie. And they even make songs that you can sing over and over and over that makes you happy, like Won't It Be Wonderful There, and The Sweet By and By, and all the other ones like that. So when he says, I've never eaten anything like this, I've never eaten anything common, I've never eaten anything unclean, that reflects this psychological reality. Clean means acceptable. Clean means holy. Clean means fit for divine fellowship. Unclean means unworthy, excluded, not permitted into spiritual inclusion. So this refers not to animals, but it refers to states of consciousness. And this refers to categories of people that Peter has been taught to distance himself from. So faith has boundaries that divine revelation must still dissolve. So you can still be a person of great faith. You can still be a person that's really beginning to understand spiritual truth, but you still have boundaries. We have that physically. You know, when you can go into a large town There's different kinds of people walking down the sidewalk. And I've been with my wife in the past when this happens, and she said she looks down the street and she sees somebody that she doesn't want to approach, and she said, let's go on the other side of the street. It's just something that's built in. And sometimes it's wise. You know, if there's a gang down there or whatever, yeah, I'm going to go across the street. But if there's just a person that maybe is a street person that lives on the street, I don't know that I would go on the other side of the street today. I would listen to my voice, but I'm not listening to fear. And see, what we often have done is listen to fear. And that's what Peter was doing. So this moment reveals that even strong, sincere faith must sometimes be liberated from these limitations that come from tradition. So the voice brings a life-altering correction to him. The word cleanse does not mean Elohim made something clean at that moment. It means it's been eternally clean. I don't go to church to get clean. I don't, getting saved does not mean it made you clean, It literally, the truth of getting saved is it makes you safe from everything that's hindering you from knowing who you are. The word saved in the Bible actually means safe, S-A-F-E. So it refers to this eternal truth that all are inherently clean in the divine, all are one, all share the very same breath, and all rise from the very same source, no matter what we see with these physical eyes. And I know there are things that we see that disgust us. I'm not talking about so much what people do, but I'm talking about who they are. People do bad things, and people do good things. Neither one of those make you who you are. You can't do enough good things to make you holy because you already are holy. And the fact that you're trying to become something means you don't know who you are. So we see here, do not call common reveals the real issue. Peter has been using these definitions to judge states of consciousness, our groups, our people, or even parts of himself as unworthy and unacceptable. Tradition taught that, and Spirit now corrects that. And we need that in our own lives. Many times I'll speak and I'll just say, if there's anything within me that's still traducing me, if it's hindering me, I lay it down. I lay it down by faith. And I thank you that I am hearing the truth. I thank you that the truth that I'm studying and it's been revealed to me, it literally is making me free. And there's so many things that hindered me just several years ago that's not there anymore. Memories of the past, things like that, thoughts of rejection, So the voice is saying, hi, Bob, Carol, glad you're here. The voice is saying your categories are not my categories. Have you heard that song yet? No. I played it last week. You haven't heard the words, though. Your categories are not my categories. Okay. Your exclusions. I wonder why you said that, category. Yeah. I thought that was funny in the song. Yeah, your categories, the way you put things together and what you think is right, that's not my categories. Your exclusions are not my exclusion. I leave nobody out. Your judgments are not my judgments. That's what people need to hear. I would love to go to church board meetings and say this to them. How you feel about your congregation, how you feel about these new people that aren't not dressed the way you think they should be. That's not Elohim's judgments. Everything and everyone is included in the one life because there's only one life, there's only one mind, there's only one power. That's it. Everything's included in it. We've got to get that solid because until we do, it won't affect what we see through these two eyes. We need to see through the single eye. So this is not optional insight. It's a foundation. And Peter needed this foundation before he was going to talk later on. And this is what empowered him. This sight projection, it happened 3 times. This vision of the sheet been taken up. It happened 3 times. 3 here symbolizes establishment, confirmation, and divine completion. Establishment, confirmation, and divine completion. Several places in the Bible, something is said 3 times all the time. You can go through the Bible and find many times It's not that they couldn't hear, but it's establishing that truth within somebody. The revelation is repeated. It's to anchor it deeply into Peter's consciousness. It's breaking this eternal resistance that faith carried from tradition. Even though he had great faith, the tradition was still robbing him. So as I have studied Scripture for many years, I've noticed when something is shown 3 times, it's not needless repetition. Holy, holy, holy. That's one of them. It's not just one time. Holy, holy, holy. Holy, holy, holy. The whole earth is filled with Elohim's glory. And what does the word glory mean? Y'all remember? The view and the perception. It's perfect. And that needs to be put into people's awareness. The whole earth is filled with perfect people, pure and holy. So it's a spiritual anchoring. It's through breath, our spirit, it's pressing the message deeper and deeper and deeper into our conscious awareness until the old perceptions no longer hold us in any way whatsoever. So we see this in Peter's sight image. Peter's old awareness still viewed certain things and certain people through the lens of separation. You know, it's one thing for me to know that I'm not separate, but it's another way for me to know that people that do really bad things are not separate. Their just awareness is screwed up, right? And so we want to look through the lens of truth, not through the lens of separation, distinction, or religious judgment. But the voice came again and again, not to change the food, but to change Peter, to change Peter's perception. This threefold appearing anchored the message within him. And then we see the sheet had been taken back or literally faded from his sight. And what this means is the revelation is sealed in his higher consciousness, but it's awaiting application. Peter must hold this truth within inside of himself, and he will soon need it when he stands before Cornelius, because that's what all this is preparing him for. This symbolism is very powerful. The revelation descends, and then what happens sometimes is resistance begins to rise, right? You hear a truth, and you think, wow, that's awesome. And then you step out, you go back into your life, and it begins. I remember Brother Garner used to talk about, I can't tell the whole story, but he said it's like I teach you that you're righteous and you're holy and you've always been that way, and you feel like you're 6 foot tall. And then by the time you get to your car, you're about 5 foot tall. And by the time you get home, you're so short you can't even reach the doorknob. It's something like, he said it like that. Because once you hear these truths, you've got to receive them. You got to let them be your foundation, because if you don't, you walk away, you get in your car, you drive home, you get into what people call the real world, which is not the real world, and you see yourself really short again. But you're not. And so,
it's 3 times.
Huh?
That's why it's 3 times.
3 times. Holy, 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 holy. Yeah. So the voice corrects. When you're listening to the voice corrects. And the problem is we didn't know how to listen to the voice. How many people have we heard say, I've never heard God talk? You know, I tell the story about Donna said, God said, and I'd get so jealous because I was so busy with my life. I really felt that I'd never heard the voice of Elohim. I just didn't know it. And so the message solidifies something here through repetition. The revelation returns upward, resting now within Peter's elevated awareness. It leaves just the carnal thinking, just the brain, and it literally goes up into the divine mind. It goes up into your heaven, which is your heart awareness. When your heart awareness knows something, it's solid, and you live out of that. And so he's soon going to need it, as I said. And then the revelation returns upward, and it rests, and Peter rests in that. And this prepares faith to act from a new, inclusive identity, free from the divisions that once defined him. And so now Peter stands at this threshold of transformation. that will not only change him, but it will open the way for all states of consciousness. And that's what we want. To open the way for the Jew, the Gentile, which is the non-Jewish faith, what is seen as unclean. It will open the way that what we have, we can give to everyone. Everyone's worthy. I did a song called Worthy or Unworthy. Everyone is worthy. Everyone is pure. Everyone is not far away. Everyone is recognized as one by Elohim. So why shouldn't we do that ourselves? And we've got to start practicing that. We have to pay attention to our thoughts. Because when we're driving down the street and we look and we see somebody on the side of the road, what are we thinking about them? I did something funny the other day. I'm not bragging about it, but I have a canvas money bag that I liked that I got from a bank once. It had a bunch of pennies in it. So we kept it in our car, and we keep all our change in there because sometimes we don't have cash, so we dig our change out. I probably had $30 in there, something like that. Not a lot of money. But I drove up, and there was a man on the side of the road. Normally, I would have thought, you need to be working. He didn't look real bad. He didn't look like he had a lot of struggles or anything. And I heard, give him the whole bag. It wasn't so much for him, it was for me. And I'm obedient. When I hear I'm obedient, I wrote it and told him to come here. I said, has anybody ever been giving you a bag of money? And he said, no. And I said, well, here, bless you. I'm not saying it to lift me up, but I'm just saying I judged him because he didn't look bad. He shouldn't be out there. Well, I don't know. A mental illness can't be seen or whatever it is. But I'm just saying this changes you to where you see all people holy. And if somebody has a need, you listen to that voice within, and then you give. You do what you're supposed to do. So, I'm lost right now. So we're at 17 now, aren't we? Verse 17, am I right? Yeah. So now while Peter wondered within himself what this vision that he had seen should mean, the men sent from Cornelius stood at the gate. Having inquired of Simon's house, they called out, asking whether Simon, whose name was Peter, was lodging there. So we have 3 men that we read earlier that they sent for. So even after the revelation is given, Peter, faith must process this shift internally. Peter is not resisting now. He's contemplating. He's turning the vision over and over in his awareness. He's trying to reconcile what he's received with everything that he's previously believed. That's what my 2 friends David were doing last week. I've shared some things with them, but they're tossing it over and over and over, and that's why they called me to help them. And so I told them at the end of that, when I said that, I said, I'm writing a song for that. You need to listen to it. And those songs help people, right? It's just, Kay and I are getting so many testimonies. It's amazing what people are saying. So this inner wondering represents a crucial stage in spiritual transformation. The moment when faith, which we have faith, recognize that a revelation has arrived. It's not just information. I was given a revelation. When you're given a revelation, what is revelation? It's the disclosing, the revealing, the opening them up. See, the revelation of Jesus Christ is not about Jesus. It's the opening up, disclosing, and the revealing of what Jesus taught. And of course, there was a lot of stuff put on there to mess it up, but we're revealing it. If you're not listening to Kay's current revelation teachings, you need to be. She's teaching them every Sunday about 4:15. They're on our YouTube channel, and it's powerful. But this revelation, it's arrived. And when it arrives, it needs to be embraced. So Peter has lived this entire life believing, again, in clean and unclean, whatever, insider, outsider. But his contemplation reflects this himself wrestling with an invitation to expand his boundaries and step into a universal awareness of one. I know a lot of people that's in this place right here. I know a lot of friends that I've talked to, and they feel like they've been called up higher, but they're wrestling with it because it's very hard to give up that which is not. I've had some of them say, I I don't care what you share with me. I'm never going to stop believing this. You should never say never. Because you just don't know. You might have a purpose, and I believe everybody does, but there is that wrestling that goes on. So this verse captures the holy tension between old understanding and new revelation. Faith must take time to absorb what Spirit has spoken. And sometimes it takes time, and you just have to let them meditate on it for a while. So while Peter reflects inwardly, the outer world mirrors his inner process. These men from Cornelius arrive at the gate. And what they symbolize is that when revelation expands inwardly, opportunity for awakening begins to arrive very quick. The timing is perfect. Spirit synchronizes a threshold, if you would, or an inner awareness with outer movement. So the gate represents the threshold, the place of transition, if you would. A gate is a transition to somewhere. And between the level of understanding and another. So a place of transition between one level. These men stand at the very boundary here, and they're waiting for Peter. And Peter's old worldview will meet the new, and then you get this groundbreaking revelation. Cornelius's servants seeking Peter, reveals this movement of devoted awareness toward faith for interpretation. And so there comes this time that you need an interpretation of what you've been revealed. I've had some things that were revealed to me, were spoken to me, but I needed more of interpretation to that. I call my friends, I call Kay, I call Butch, I do more study, I sit in silence, and then I hear it. So Peter has steadfast faith. He's established in conviction. And so Peter must listen. And of course, that's Simon and Peter, that one person. But their calling out signifies this urgent awareness of an inward prompting. Sometimes there's this urgency inside of you that you need to learn something now because you don't realize tomorrow you're going to meet somebody that's been praying for this answer. And I believe that's important for us. I believe we need to take what we're learning, what breath speaks to us, and realize I need to understand this because there's going to be a withdrawal. And Peter's going to be meeting Cornelius, and there's going to be a great withdrawal, and he needs to be not judging these people. So this is the person trying to align faith with the next divine movement. Cornelius' intent, devotion, and inner communion have set something in motion, now reaches Peter directly. This moment captures this orchestration of awakening. It's one part of the sacred self that lifts devotion, seeks faith, and another part is prepared with revelation. So we seek faith in Father's faith. We realize that we can do what we're called to do. And then we move into this place of revelation, and the inner world and the outer world converge, and this meeting takes place. The old and new awareness come together, and the old is destroyed. Because the truth will do what? Make you free. All right. Verse 19. It's really funny. Kay, when you're watching, your name stays up there all the time. It says, Kay's watching, Kay's watching, Kay's watching. Every time I look up, it says, Kay's watching. All right. So while Peter was still pondering the vision, Spirit said to him, look, 3 men are seeking you. Arise, therefore, go down and go with them without hesitation. For I exist, or Elohim has sent them to you. So this reveals that Peter is still processing this magnitude of this revelation. Peter's awareness is expanded, but not yet fully aligned. He's turning the vision over and over. Sometimes it's just, it has to turn and turn and turn to get everything out of it. I'm reminded of when I was a child. I was in Boy Scouts of America. It was called something else, but our leader was a veterinarian. And he took us up to Stillwater, to the veterinarian school, and saw one of the funniest things. The sheep and cows had a lid on the side of their stomach. And they used that to study how food processed or whatever. And so they unscrewed it on the cow and had us look in there, and that food was just turning and turning and turning and turning. And they talked about how it churns and it turns until all the nutrients get out of it. It was just very impacting to me. But sometimes have you ever heard of that, Carl? Yeah, they still do that. So when we receive a revelation, we have to let it churn within inside of our awareness.
Chew the cud.
Chew the cud, exactly. That's another story, how they chewed the cud to get every bit out of that. And so that's what's going on here with Peter. And there's this inner movement between revelation flowing and where understanding forms. And now Spirit now interprets contemplation and speaks through within him and communicates. The inward voice always enters at the exact moment when faith needs confirmation. I have found when I need to know something, it speaks. I no longer resist that. The word worship, the word ascertain means the word worship and the word ask means ascertain and seek and desire to know, and it will be revealed to you. When you believe that and you know that, there's nothing that you can't ask. And I don't believe I just sit in there. I don't just say, well, I'm going to ask about this. I'm going to ask about that. But when there's this prompting within inside of me and I need to know something, I ask. I say Spirit. I say breath. Some people say Spirit. Some people say God. That's okay. It doesn't matter. I had a lady write me and she said, I'm really confused. Don't be confused. Keep saying God. I don't care. It doesn't matter. It all points to the same thing, right? Just know that it's not a physical thing out there somewhere. So again, 3 symbolizes divine establishment. So the same pattern now appears outwardly. This was affirmed internally. Now it's appearing externally. What we're learning has to come out and appear externally. It must appear in how we see people, how we treat people, how we talk to people, what we do with our hands, what we do with our feet. I wrote a song called Walk These Feet in Me. I want the breath to walk in me, as me. I want the very breath, the Spirit within me to control every part of my life. And so the sacred self has been shown this revelation that's not merely symbolic, but it's actionable. It takes action. The ek is the movement and the action. That's why the book of Acts, it's all about the movement and the action of those who believed. So Cornelius represents devotion, now manifested through these faculties, the 2 servants. This revelation and action have now converged. They've all come together, and it rises above these inherited boundaries. Peter must elevate his awareness to the level of revelation. And before he can do that, he must stand inwardly in a new perception and stand in that. Don't let anything get you out of your seat. Don't let anything get you out of your rest. Don't let anything get you out of what you know to be true now. Revelation does not remain in the heights. It comes down into expression. It's expressed to us. I always thought in my younger years, what's the use having the book of Revelation and the Bible if we're not meant to understand it? I've heard so many preachers say we're not meant to understand. Then why is it there? Why did Jesus give it to John? Right? So revelation does not remain that way. And this is really crucial. Spirit tells Peter, do not doubt, do not judge, do not resist, do not question the worthiness of those seeking you. Do not filter this through your old categories of clean and unclean. Do not evaluate this through inherited doctrine. Peter must go without hesitation. In other words, you have to know that you know. Because if you don't, the old voices keep coming. But when you know that you know, it burns all that away. I mean, Ann, how many things that you used to believe, they're just gone now. They don't come to you. You don't think about them. There's no power in them anymore. It's because you have literally received a truth that has made you free. So this moment marks the shift that faith shaped by tradition to faith shaped by revelation. Tradition says, I'm blessed because I give. I'm blessed because I serve. Tradition does that. But faith says, I'm blessed because I'm blessed. I was born blessed. I was born holy. I have all things that pertain to life and spiritual life right now. So breath unites two states of consciousness, faith and devotion, to bring forth a greater revelation of inclusiveness and oneness. That's the greatest revelation we can. I am a oneness teacher. I teach oneness everywhere I go. My car tag says, you are holy. My other car tag says, we are all one. That's the one Donna came up with. So the words dissolve every possible objection Peter might rise. And literally, before we can step out and do what we're called to do, we need all those objections dissolved.
Because you're going to meet somebody else with those same objections. And you need to be able, if your mind's at ease and you're at peace, then you can help set their mind.
Yes, you can.
And that's what you do.
You can. And you do that by feel, felt, found. I can't tell you I know how you feel about other people being separate, but I know how I felt. And I didn't feel real comfortable with that. But would you mind letting me tell you what I found out? And if they say yes, you can do it. If they say no, then you say, well, if you're comfortable with that, fine. And then go your way. Don't let them dump their stuff on you. So these words dissolve all that. So when spirit sins, faith must receive. When spirit, when breath, whatever you want to say, is sending you to do what you're supposed to do, you must receive that sending. You must realize this is my mandate. And sometimes you have to speak when you've been afraid to speak. But if you know the prompting, then you need to say something. You never know when somebody's ready. That's what used to bother me a lot. I would talk to preachers and I'm sharing with them, I'm teaching them. And I said, why don't you let me come and teach at your church? Oh, no, my people aren't ready. Well, you don't know whether they're ready or not. They may be starving for something. Don and I were in a church that I was there for 38 years, and we were starving for truth. We loved the people. We raised our children there. We were in Babylon. I was a minister there, so my business was there. It was very hard to come out. And when we were called out, it was tough. We did a lot of weeping, a lot of crying, a lot of hurting. But that pastor would mock me for teaching Greek and Hebrew and things like that. He didn't know those people wanted more. I know they did. Because when I began to teach what Brother Garner was teaching me, the people began to pour in because they'd never heard that before. Your church wants more. I promise you they want more than what you're sharing. So this prepares him to step into Cornelius' house and act of unthinkable under religious laws, stepping into a unclean household. I mean, before all this would have happened, Peter would have never gone there, ever. So what he's doing, he's moving into a universal love for all people and all states of consciousness. So Acts 10:21. I hope I can finish this. Donna's going to get mad if I don't. I'm going to. Then Peter went down to the men who had been sent to him from Cornelius and said, behold, I am the one you seek. For what cause have you come? And they said, Cornelius the centurion, a righteous man who reveres Elohim and is well spoken of by the people, I was instructed by a consecrated messenger to send for you to come to his house and to hear your words. Then Peter invited them in and gave them lodging on the next day, and he went with them, and a certain brethren from Joppa accompanied him. So here we have faith descends from a rooftop, because that's where Peter was when he had that vision. He fell asleep, remember? So this elevated realm of revelation, it's a practical engagement. The movement down signifies the embodiment of revelation. Peter is now ready to interact to the desires, the intentions, and the needs of Cornelius. The revelation that came to him has entered down into his heart awareness, and it's controlling his life, where he can boldly walk in and not judge. And see, that's some problem sometimes, that we judge people. Oh, this is a Baptist church. They won't listen to me. Or I'm not going there. I don't like what they teach. And that's got to all go away. So Peter presents himself with clarity. He presents himself with openness. Peter's question is not ignorance, but an invitation. The willingness of awakened faith to hear, to understand, to engage with this. So Peter's statement, I am the one you seek, reveals the faculty of faith that now recognizes their role. You know those little things on Facebook now above your picture that you can make a little statement? Have you seen them up there? Yesterday I put, I'm Dr. Roy Richmond, I can help you. I just felt like doing that.
That's good.
You know, I put, I am here to serve, but that's what I'm going to put up there from now on. I'm Dr. Roy Richmond, I can help you, because I know I can help you. I know. Do I know everything? Am I aware of everything right now? No. But if you ask me a question, I promise you I can find the answer for you by sitting and listening. Not at the farm, Carl. I can hear him. Oh, he's going to help me paint my house. I'm not the one you're seeking. So he's portrayed as a devoted, righteous intention, reverent toward Elohim, Cornelius is. And Cornelius represents that part of the self that's fully prepared for union awareness, for oneness awareness. The description shows Cornelius represents that, and his reverence and his righteous understanding, they rise from the inner sincerity of openness. And here, this alignment becomes clear. Cornelius receives a vision. The messenger instructs him to call for Peter. Peter gets his own revelation, preparing him for the moment. This is a whole drama going on here. The house of Cornelius symbolizes the inner dwelling of his awareness, the center where he functions spiritually. We used to sing a song, I'm your house, O God. Where your house was your heart awareness. That's where Elohim knowledge and that's where the divine mind pours into you. I might even say that's the divine mind. I don't know. But that's where everything, and we need to remove all the crusty stuff so our heart awareness can be our driving factor in our life. So the two threads of this now meet in this moment. Peter's now been invited into the inner sanctuary to speak a revelation that will remove all that final veil of separation and devotion from union awareness. So the words Peter is going to say represents truth becoming active within Cornelius's inner being. This is a great statement here. Peter's invitation means that faith receives intentions sent by devotion, and the boundaries that were once created are broke up and they're destroyed. And Peter is now embodying this revelation of inclusion. He just received it, he welcomes it, and he allows all tradition to go away. And giving them lodging shows a spiritual hospitality, it shows faith, it makes space for new understanding, new people, and new expressions. And I love that because I want to make space for that. I always say, I'm willing to learn. I'm never again going to say, I don't believe that. You know, unless it's just totally contrary. But if somebody begins to share something that they found in ancient writings, ancient books, I'm going to say, I don't quite understand it, but share it with me. Allison, my daughter, I'm so proud of her. She's going a place that I'm not there yet. I understand it. I do understand that they killed the spiritual women. The Catholic Church burned them at the stake. I understand all that. And I understand that they left a lot of stuff out of the Bible. This is my mandate. That's her mandate. And I support her in that. And I've never said to her, I don't believe it. Tell me a little bit more about it. I believe it, but I don't quite understand all of it yet. But I know there's tremendous truth there. So Peter now travels towards Cornelius, which is faith moving towards devotion. Spiritual transformation always involves mutual movement. Cornelius sends for Peter. Peter moves toward Cornelius. Certain brethren from Joppa accompany him. And that represents supporting each other's faculties. I have strong faith. You have strong love. Whatever it is, we need to support one another. And so these are inner companions who carry openness, which is necessary for the larger revelation. The journey is now set. Faith and devotion are coming together to reveal Elohim's breath includes all, excludes none, awakens all that want to be awakened, and removes all outer boundaries of religious understanding. Verse 24. We're getting close to being done here. Let me get a sip. And the next day, they entered into Caesarea, and Cornelius was waiting for them. He knew they were coming, and having called together his relatives and close friends, which originally to Peter were unclean, and when Peter entered in, Cornelius met him and fell at his feet and bowed before him. But Peter lifted him up, saying, "Stand up. I am just a man like you." Oh, he didn't say just, he said, "I'm also a man like you." And that's important because we're not to worship the messenger. And that's another whole sermon. I've talked about that a lot. We honor, we respect, we're thankful, we treat them well because they've given their life to do it. But I don't bow down, I don't put them on a pedestal, and I don't worship them the way worship used to be. So Caesarea symbolizes this inner realm of spiritual governance, the place where sacred self, where authority and perception and spiritual structure are all shaped. Cornelius is not merely ready, he's waiting. You know, the whole church world is waiting for something to happen. They're waiting for Jesus to come back. They're waiting for their ship to come in. I've tithed all my life. It's always been taught to wait, but there needs to be an expectation that it's in us now. It's all here now. We're wasting it. Cornelius is not merely ready. He's in expectation. He's fully prepared to receive this revelation of faith. And he gathers his relatives, his close friends, which represent all the inner faculties, the thoughts, the states of awareness connected. And this inner companions are brought forward to witness and to receive truth. This shows that when a devoted part of ourself is ready for awakening, it draws along every other part of your body that needs to awaken, every part of your thoughts. When you have one thing you want to awaken to, when you really are willing to awaken, it awakens you to many things, many truths. So Cornelius' readiness reveals a heart awareness that's fully open, fully expansive, and genuinely seeking transformation. And I say this all the time, we must let go of things that are not true. Don and I was driving down the street, and and the clouds were so pretty, and we were talking about how Carl and Ann they got 4.5 inches of rain, very much needed. And she said, "Thank you, Lord." And you know me, I said, "Thank you, clouds, for releasing the rain." And of course it upset her a little bit, and I understand, because we're used to saying, "Lord, thank you, Jesus," and all that. Lord means teacher. And so it's hard to be married to a teacher. I know it is. It's very difficult. And I love my wife. I wouldn't hurt her for nothing. But there's things that we have to let go of. That the clouds, I said, Jesus, when the storm came and he was in the boat and the disciples were afraid they were going to drown, he didn't say, "Oh God, stop the rain." He said, "Peace, be still." He spoke to the elements. And that's one of our problems. We've been speaking to a God out there to do stuff and letting the elements and everything else do whatever it wants. Right?
That's good. That's good.
And we're not knowing that we can say, "Thank you, clouds, for doing nothing but bringing wonderful rain. Thank you that you're not turbulence. Thank you, you're speaking to elements." Don't people talk to the flowers all the time, the plants? And it's a proven fact when they talk to them and they bless them, they grow. I've seen the study. I've seen for one side of a garden, they talked to it and loved on it and said, "You're beautiful." And the other side they ignored, and this side here grew tremendously. This side just barely grew. And people think, well, that's dumb. No, it's not. It's energy. It's releasing energy. It's releasing truth. And so this is important here. Cornelius' readiness reveals this, that he can do this now. And that he's falling at Peter's feet reveals this tendency of religion to elevate the messenger again. But he said, don't do that. Don't venerate me, if you would. So this moment exposes this pattern when sacred self, within sacred self, devotion often places awakened individuals again on pedestals. And I repeat that again, do not worship the messenger. So this is the most critical sentence here that Peter in the book of Acts, Peter's faith immediately corrects this hierarchy that devotion attempts to create. Peter does not accept worship. There is no hierarchy. We have churches where you have bishops and apostles and pastors and all these things. Those are titles, but that's not who that person is. You don't worship that. I always joke with people when they came to my church and they wanted to know what to call me. And I said, well, if you want to call me something, you can call me the Right Reverend Bishop, Most Holy Dr. Roy E. Richmond, or you can call me Roy. So they always called me Roy. You know, I'm not making fun of the titles, but don't bow down to the title because there is no hierarchy. Nowhere. And a religious system will fight for that hierarchy, but there is no. We are all one. We just have different positions, different responsibilities. And I'm telling you, if we begin to do that in churches, people are going to be happy. People are going to even respect you more. And so I'm not above you. I'm not closer. I don't have this special ear to hear things that you can't hear. All I've done is spent time doing what I'm supposed to do. I've spent time listening. I dug out the truth. I'm like a Jeremiah. I dug up the weeds. I dug up the lies. I dug up what's really not true so I can see what is true. And so that's been a long process for me. So the revelation that you seek here is already within you. And that's what Peter was saying to Cornelius. It's already within you. And I love this statement here. I'm here to activate what you already possess. That's what I'm here for you people that are watching me now. I'm here to activate within you what's already yours. I'm here to turn you on.
Yes.
I wrote a song called Let's Go All the Way. Melanie loves that song. But let me turn you on and go all the way. Because there's nothing to wait for. No. Nothing's going to happen in the future. There's not some cataclysmic event that's going to take place. It's going to change the world. It's one world at a time. My world, and then I get a few people and I change their world and they change other people's world. I do believe there will be a time, I don't know when this whole earth is going to show forth the view and the perception of Elohim. I believe it is, and I hope it is before I leave this visible being here, right here. No one is above another. All stand equal. All share the same divine life. And Peter's words are lifting his gesture. Lifting this shows that faith. It's not to dominate, but it's to awake. So this is the last verse we're going to read today. And we'll continue on. Acts 10:27 through 29. As Peter spoke with him, he entered and found many gathered together, and he said to them, you yourself know how unlawful it is for a Jew to associate with or enter the house of another nation. But I came without hesitation when I was sent for. So here we have faith enters the house, the inner dwelling, a devoted awareness, and he discovers many people gathered there. This represents multiple inner faculties and beliefs and emotions, thought patterns connected to Cornelius' openness. When devotion calls for revelation, it doesn't stand alone. When one part of me calls for revelation, my whole being is ready for it. I promise you, my heart is ready for revelation. My nervous system is ready for revelation. My entire being this is my household, and it's ready for revelation. So it doesn't stand alone. It pulls forward this, and this gathering symbolizes inner expectation. It symbolizes receptive awareness. It symbolizes readiness of the entire conscious to hear new truth, and there's only one truth. It's not just a new truth, but it's only one truth. So Peter begins by acknowledging the old belief systems. He acknowledges that. He acknowledges that used to, with what I believed before, I would have never stepped into your house. But I have been given a revelation of oneness, and I believe it, and I'm happy to be here. The inherited interpretations of separations have been destroyed. And see, religiously, the Jew-Gentile divide was absolute.
Yes.
Absolute. It's still that way today. Our Catholic brethren, and a lot of the priests don't like it, but you cannot take communion until you join the fellowship. I went to a funeral once, and the priest got up and said, I would love to give this to all of you, but my religion doesn't allow it. But I pray there will be a day that we will all be one. He said that. I've heard that. And I've heard many other people say things like that. I read a thing the other day on one church that you cannot baptize your children until you've been there for 6 months. All kinds of stuff like that. You can't sing in the choir until you clean yourself up. The list can go on and on and on. He's saying, I don't believe any of that anymore. It's not true because we're all one. So Peter begins by acknowledging this, and then Peter is naming the boundaries that were created by the old awareness, the states of consciousness of unacceptable, acceptable, holy, not holy, profane, not profane, on and on and on. And this single sentence here dismantles centuries of religious belief systems. Elohim has revealed to Peter that no person is outside divine love. And that doesn't mean God loves you, but.
There is no but.
No. What I love, I love. I don't love you because of anything. I love you without a cause. There's no person outside of that. No awareness. No one is abandoned. No state of consciousness is unworthy. See, I went to a house. I was knocking on some of the doors for some HOA, a homeowner association, and it had a sign up there that I totally disagreed with. Totally disagreed with. But you know what? I love the people. I know the people inside there. But I started to read it, and I thought, nope, I'm not going to read it. I don't care. But I could have really easily taken a paint can and painted over the whole thing, you know, if I wasn't who I am today. But today, I don't let those things bother me. They are who they are. People have a choice to live the way they want to, but they're still holy,
Yes.
you know. So Peter says nobody's out. No group's out. Nobody's excluded. Nothing is beneath spirit, breath, Elohim. Any man, any woman, every expression, every person, every nation, every background, every thought pattern, every awareness is all included in one life. Now, I'm not saying that gives the right for people to break the laws of the land. That doesn't give them a right to go out and do bad things. But they're still holy.
Yes.
And they may go through a horrible judgment. They may do horrible things, but they're still holy. And that's hard for people because they've had bad things happen to their children and things like that. And I understand. I do not justify what they did. Yes, they did something really bad, and we're in a system where there's a law, and they must follow the law or they're going to receive punishment. But it's not a punishment after they die. The only sin, I have committed sin, but that sin is sin against me, not some God out there. I sinned against me. I sinned against people, if you want to say that. But that was caused from a mistaken identity. So Peter refers back to the command of Spirit. Go without hesitation. We've got to stop our hesitation. We've got to stop being afraid. And I'm not saying we want to lose people, but if we know there's a call to do something, you know it, I can't tell you what you're supposed to do, then go. So he embodies it. There's no resistance, there's no judgment, no fear, only obedience to the voice within. Faith is now fully aligned with revelation. I mean, I'm sure you've experienced this before. Sometimes you heard to do something, but then you thought about it and you're like, nah, maybe not. Maybe that's not God. That's the devil telling me to do that, in a sense. But once you know the voice, you know it's truth. There's no resistance. There's no fear. So this marks this completion of Peter's inner shift. He leaves tradition. He leaves categories. He leaves exclusivity, and he steps fully in the universal embrace of Elohim. Peter understands this moment is divine. It's a timing, it's an orchestration. He's opening the space for the next stage of revelation to be spoken and activated with Cornelius' awareness. So this next time we're going to see they're going to have a powerful conversation. It shows humility of faith, not dictating, but listening. Not assuming, but opening to what breath is doing in the other person's awareness. And that's what we have to do. So I hope you enjoyed that. This week and last week, is the story really needs to go together. If you didn't hear last week, I'd encourage you to go to that. But this is a powerful story, and it's very exciting. So I love all of you. Appreciate you being here. We appreciate all your comments that you make. And I encourage you, if you would, please share our post, share our songs to your world. People need to hear these things, and a lot of that's going on, but more of it needs to happen. I've talked to Kay about this a lot. We want to write so many songs and produce them that it's going to drown out all that other "Won't It Be Wonderful There" sounds. So those are called the Songs of Babylon. So we love you very much. Bless you, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.